Crime branch of Mumbai police have arrested Raj Kundra. Raj Kundra is the husband of actor Shilpa Shetty. The arrest has been made in a shocking case registered with the crime branch Mumbai in February 2021 about the creation possibly of pornographic movies and publishing them through some applications. Kundra will be produced in the court today. After Kundra's arrest, cops have arrested one more individual in the same case in Navi Mumbai. Mumbai police have said they have sufficient evidence regarding this case and are further investigating the matter. Mumbai police's crime branch have exposed, it appears, a major racket possibly wherein porn film production company makers were making these videos of young women and under false pretext of possibly getting them a break in the industry. And this has also exposed the racket with an arrest of even more 5 people in the case. And as the investigations are proceeding, some WhatsApp chats have now surfaced, and it appears that there was pornography business that was being discussed in it. Raj Kundra was a part of that WhatsApp group called as anonymously the H account, which was allegedly being used by the makers and promoters of porn films. Cops believe that there was a ring used with regard to these WhatsApp chats to discuss, strategize the shooting, production and distribution of the porn films, which is illegal. There were at least 5 participants in the group, including Kundra himself. Some other names have also surfaced: Pradeep Bakshi, Megha Vian Accounts, Rob Digital Marketing Hotshot, and Raw Evans, the content head of the films. Now, Kundra can allegedly be seen talking about some marketing, sales, slump in revenue and payment to models who appear in these films. At one point, Kundra can allegedly be seen even complaining about the fall in revenue, suggesting ways on how to increase the business again. Mustafa Sheikh is reporting from the Mumbai crime branch on this. Because, Mustafa, this is a very sensitive and a very shocking case, and not just illegal, but primarily deals with a lot of women who may or may not have been trapped in it. What are you picking up on the investigations? How is the crime branch proceeding with this high-profile investigation?
Well, Pooja, crime branch says that there are many other things which are yet to be revealed about this entire case. As of now, they have only covered the business model of it, which was connected to Raj Kundra. There were some names which came forward, and those names were relating to Raj Kundra, and Raj Kundra's UK production firm and other companies had floated some apps and OTT platforms on which these porn films were being broadcasted. And hence, first he was called for questioning and then placed under arrest yesterday. And there are more people, maybe some people connection with Bollywood, who are yet to be questioned in this case. How far it goes is something we don't know as of now, but a clear picture will emerge when Raj Kundra has taken out of the crime branch office and produced in the court. On that occasion, the Mumbai police will place on record the evidences they have against Raj Kundra. Back to you.
Mustafa, please stay on with me, because it is also important to explain to our viewers what precisely is this case about. What was the modus operandi according to the agencies that are investigating this matter? Let's take you one by one, and these are serious allegations that have come in. On the top is to have some of those women who were also part of young and needy women who were specifically targeted, which means the ones trying to make a break in the film industry. They were lured under the pretext of a break in the film industry, and that is why they were allegedly trapped in this. Bungalows were rented within Mumbai city to shoot these pornographic movies. What happened after that? The porn videos were uploaded on adult sites and applications, and that is how they were shared and reached out to other people as well. So this appeared to be with the trailer of porn movies released on social media, and of course there were different pretexts that were likely used for this. Porn film makers earned in lakhs of rupees and clearly had a massive viewership. Now remember, it is not watching porn films that is considered illegal as much as manufacturing them, sharing and selling them, and basis on which the crime branch is going to investigate this case. I want to return now to my colleague Mustafa Sheikh, who's reporting from Mumbai. Mustafa, it is also important to put it in perspective that these are porn films, otherwise also known as adult films or blue films, that sharing them, making them, using them for commercial ventures are considered illegal in the country, not as much as watching them, and that's a very grey area. So do you think that is what the crime branch will be proceeding with? Because it's a very sensitive case. We will only go out with the verified details here on India Today. Mustafa.
Yes, of course. What the crime branch is looking at is that there were new ways and forms to publish this pornographic films, which was the OTT platform and various apps, and hence they basically tried to investigate the technology being used differently to spread it through other areas. And also one important thing in this area is that the models who were in those porn films who were seen there, they are the ones who have complained that they were victimized. They were said that on the pretext of modeling they were made to sign contracts, and then they did this film. Back to you.
That is an important point that you're telling us. So it appears that some of the models who were used in some of these films have come forth, and that is how it appears that this very shocking case has surfaced about allegedly making, selling, publishing pornographic films in the country. Thank you so much, Mustafa. Keep tracking all the latest on this. The Supreme Court has taken a strong stand against Kerala government over the easing of restrictions for the Bakrid celebrations. Now, the top court has slammed the Vijayan government, saying pressure from market groups cannot be allowed to affect the COVID fight. Not just that, the Supreme Court has also told the Kerala government to pay heed to the top court's order on the Kavod pilgrimage, but adding that it is too late because the easing of curbs ends today, after 3 days already of the markets having been kept open. The Supreme Court also has acknowledged that, saying that the horse has bolted already, so it is too late now to pass an order. The top court yesterday, however, had, remember, posted the matter for today, issued a notice to the Kerala government. So why is this in news specifically? These curbs were eased at a time when COVID cases are surging increasingly in the state of Kerala, reporting over 10,000 cases for the last few days. Our legal correspondent Anisha Mathur with all the latest. Anisha, many are trying to make a parallel between the Kavod pilgrimage and this specific Eid-ul-Adha celebrations for which relaxations were given. But how has the court specifically come to the Kerala government's notice? What is the court saying? Because now that the days have already gone, there's nothing that can be done much about it now.
Well, Pooja, let's break this down into the parts of the question that you just asked. First of all, the matter came before the court late on Sunday evening. It was taken up on Monday morning, and the Kerala government asked for time to file a reply. Today being Tuesday morning, this morning the court has passed its strictures, saying that it is not happy with what Kerala government has done, that they should not have eased restrictions, particularly in category D areas, which are areas with the more than 20% positivity rate. Thirdly, the court has said that the pressure groups, whether they're religious groups or market groups, should not have been allowed to pressure the government. And what we are seeing here with the Kerala government's notification is a very sorry state of affairs. So very, very clear statement coming in from the court that what the Kerala government has done is wrong. Where it differs from the UP matter, however, is that the Kanwar Yatra is a much longer process. It takes several days for people to travel to come back, and the entire ritual involves a lot of travel. There, the Supreme Court had enough time to hear all sides and then come up with an order to tell the UP government to not allow the yatra. Here, Eid al-Adha is tomorrow. The restrictions were only for the easing of relaxation. The relaxation and restrictions was only for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Effectively, by the time the court was informed about something wrong that is being done, the matter was already done. And as you also quoted, the judge has said the horse has already bolted. So at the moment, what the court has done is reminded the government, not just for Kerala, but across the country, that the right to health of the people of India should not be put at a disadvantage based on pressure from different pressure groups. And this kind of behavior is not acceptable. Back to
Anisha
you.
Mathur with all the latest from the top court in the country over the relaxations that were given in a state where the reports of cases only surging are coming in. Anisha, thank you very much for now. Is it time now for children to return to their schools and end online classes? In an exclusive interview to India Today TV, Dr. Randeep Guleria says there is a possibility now that schools can be opened in a staggered, organized manner. Here's our report on this special. Take a look.
Once bustling with chatter, fun, learning and laughter, teeming with energy and enthusiasm, schools worldwide have fallen silent. As the pandemic unleashed its ravage, the classes have moved online. The games, pranks and assemblies are long gone. The lessons are now confined to screens of our digital devices. Education is no longer what it was. But could it be yesterday once more? Could schools open their arms to students again? Yes, if you believe one of India's most respected voices in the COVID fight.
I'm one who is a proponent that we should work on a strategy for opening up schools because of multiple reasons. I think opening up schools and having students coming physically has a lot of benefit. It's not only the e-learning, it's the character development, the social interaction that children have at school. We need to develop a strategy that all of them can come back to the education system.
Despite possibility of another wave, dipping cases are giving hope like never before. But the key will be laying out a careful roadmap and mounting effective surveillance.
If the cases rise, we can always close the schools down again. But having it closed for such a long time is causing more harm than good. And therefore, I personally feel that we should look at strategies for opening up schools in areas where now cases are very low.
The AIIMS chief stressed on the role of school in the wholesome development of a child, underlining its critical importance in imparting life skills.
I think opening up schools and having students coming physically has a lot of benefit. It's not only the e-learning, it's the character development, the social interaction that children have at school.
While vaccines for kids are on the horizon, the natural immunity in the young is also a big advantage that the kids enjoy.
The vaccine trial is doing well. It is now in the stage of observing to see for safety and antibody and the immunity. The recruitment is over, so I'm very hopeful that we should have robust data in September, and hopefully we should be able to then develop strategies for vaccination in children.
So is it time to breathe life back into our schools? And is it time for our kids to break the shackle of the pandemic? With Sneha Mordani, Bureau Report, India Today.